conflicts, this will not be marketed and broadcasted publicly, but if folks do ask for a recording, I will share it. All right, so one of the first things that we're going to do is we're going to put in some background like green leaves, just to kind of fill in a little bit of the bottom half with some texture and some of the nature, because the way we're going to be breaking down tonight's inspiration is we'll be doing some greenery in the background. We'll be doing layers of flowers on top, and then we'll do some additional flower details. So it's all going to be a layer. It's all going to be progressive. So to get going, I'm going to have everyone grab a medium-sized brush. Maybe if you have a number 4 or a number 5, that's a great brush to use. And you can kind of move your station around and get set up as you wish. But I have kind of a long bristled brush. And I'm going to grab my green paint. So these are brand new paints. If you're new here, these are really fun new paints. And I'm going to take out just about a thumbnail. Just a little dollop. And when I say a thumbnail, it's literally the size of my thumbnail. And the reason I like to talk to you about how much paint I use is because you'll realize quickly you don't need a lot of paint for these classes. And tonight's canvas is a little smaller. Some of you may have noticed. But I wanted to try a little bit smaller of a canvas. This is 9 by 12. And again, the black canvas is unique for this month. Typically we paint on white canvas. But if people like it, we could always try black again. So I have a little bit of green paint, and I have my 4 or my 5, kind of a long bristled brush. And I'm going to go ahead and get some of this paint on. And what we're going to do is we're going to paint some leaves. I don't want you to go about halfway up. Imagine you go about about a third, and you can paint some leaves. We're just adding some really kind of fun texture. And if you cannot see this, please holler. Again, painting on black is a little different. I'll hold this a little closer too. There we go.
Yeah, that helps bringing it closer. Thank
you.
Okay,
Cool. So there we go. Perfect. So I'm going to use a little bit of green paint, and I'm just going to paint some kind of long leaves kind of coming in, maybe a couple long coming up. We're just going to add a little bit of texture. And you can see I'm just doing some lines, and some are short and some are long, and I'm kind of coming all the way off the bottom. So we're creating the background of our naturescape. And you can see I'm being fairly abstract, but you can see I have all different heights.
Excuse me, Megan, I just jumped in. Is that green you're using, or is it mixed?
This is green. Yes, ma'am.
It's not mixed. Okay, thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're just doing a little bit of texture here and there. If you wanted to do like green leaf, you could do tall grass. We're just getting some background texture in. And we're just doing it right here on the bottom. And I'm just doing little kind of curving lines, kind of like wispy grass. I'm going to do this across the entire bottom. Now you can decide on how much or how little of this that you want to do. You can see some of these are not filled in all the way. They don't have to be. They don't have to be totally filled in. As the artist, I will always encourage you to kind of take your own style. So tonight, I don't want you to try to copy what I'm doing. I want you to really be in the moment and create this kind of leafy, kind of grassy scene down here. And I'll bring it a little closer. And I'm going a little lighter. See how these on the left are not filled in all the way. That's okay. And I'm unconsciously just layering in different blades of grass. Because this is a wildflower scene, and wildflowers are typically in a field, right? And in fields, there's typically an underlying of grass. And if you have your own idea for your own perspective on tonight's inspiration, I'll always encourage you to be yourself if anybody wants to take like a little bit different of a take on this, feel free. You're not going to hurt my feelings, I promise. If anybody wants to do a leaf, you can. I'll do one kind of leaf right here.
There's always one in a crowd, and tonight it's going to be me. My green does not show up whatsoever. It almost looks black.
Interesting.
Do you want me to add some white to it?
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Do you have the dark green by chance?
It's called,
Mine too, Renee.
okay, hi
So
Corinne. It's
maybe I
Earth
did send
Black
two
Rose.
colors of greens. Here I have.
Oh,
So well, for both classes, I sent different ones. So I have.
oh,
I have the dark one.
Yep. So
Yeah,
I
me
sent this
too.
for the Sunday class. So you might have received two kits.
No, you know what? My son
Ah.
got one and I got one, and I probably just grabbed his. So
No
let me open
worries.
his. Let
Go
me
ahead
open-
and grab white. So for the Sunday class, we were going to use this one with a little bit of white.
Okay, I'm gonna go
Got it.
steal his out of his bag. Okay.
Yeah, you can use either color.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely. You're like, it's dark.
It's
Yeah.
really dark. Yeah.
All right. If folks want to make my screen bigger, you can go to the view in the top right-hand corner and click the speaker view. And then you can expand your window, your browser window. In the top left-hand corner of your browser window, you can click the little green I'm on a Mac, so it's a little green icon. It will show full screen. So that's that. But yes, dark green and light green, or grass green per se. There we go. You can see it a little bit better here. So ladies and gents, I want you just to take your time and add some of this, just a little bit of green detail in. We're going to add a lot more. But lean back in your chair, and I want you to add a little bit of swagger, a little bit of movement to these grass blades. What do you notice by looking at this grass blade over here? It's a little curved, right? This creates a little bit more of a natural scape. And these are all going to be background details anyways. We're going to put in a lot of beautiful flowers on top of this. But I'm just working my way across, and I'm keeping them fairly low. But I'm just taking my time. I'm doing some short blades. I'm doing some longer blades. You can always come in here and modify these, but I'm really just being abstract, just creating a little bit of fill. Somewhere to start. And you could just do little swipes to kind of fill some of this space. Look at this. I'm just do a couple little swipes just to kind of fill in some of this, the black. See, I'm creating density, creating more of a dense space down here. I'm setting the scene for our flowers. And your lines don't have to be precise. Being abstract and kind of letting go in the moment takes practice, trust me. And some of you that may have been here before, you're like, I'm starting to figure this out. So I always encourage you to look at your painting as a holistic, kind of like a photo. Don't look at each grass blade as you're putting it in, but look at your whole painting as its own composition. And that I'm creating volume with different textures, different movements of our grass blades to set the scene for our field. We're going to add a lot more of this, so no worries. We're going to add some more leaves and petals, but this is just setting the stage. And you can always look at the inspiration for reference if you want to kind of see where we're going. There's a lot more leaves and petals, kind of even green leaves. I'm going to do that after because we're going to use a little bit of yellow. We'll use a little bit of white, but we're setting the stage. Make sure the paint comes all the way down, kind of off the bottom. So do brush strokes all the way down off the bottom. And you can see I've set the stage. Can always add more. And in these classes, I'll always remind you to take a deep breath, stretch your shoulders back, give yourself a pat on the back for being here and taking some time for yourself tonight. I'm certainly glad you're with us. And then I might come in and with my brush, now that I have some of this volume of our field created, I might come in and just refine some of these blades with a little bit more paint. You can lean back in your chair and visually reflect on what you've created. And you'll notice gaps. You'll notice something with a weird edge, and you can use this small brush. This is a nice fine point. It's the benefit of having nice new brushes. You can kind of turn and use this long brush tip to create this movement. I'm not going to go too crazy because we're going to add some flowers here pretty quickly. Perhaps we'll start with poppies. So I'll give everyone another solid, just 2 minutes. I'll keep an eye on the clock. Just have a starting point for our field, for our wildflowers. And there are some browns tucked in here, which we can add. We'll keep it easy as we get started. And I'll bring this a little closer so you can see some of the detail. But again, I'm so glad that you're here with us. And if you have any questions, please let me know, but I'll keep an eye again on the time. Again, if you have any questions, you can unmute or you can use the chat window. All right. So we're going to go ahead and slowly transition to the next step. If you're not done with the grass, don't worry about it. We're going to be adding a lot more detail down there. Okay.
Megan, I have one question.
Of course.
So I'm using some of my other paints that I had from a previous kit. What was there a different green that you put in this kit? Because it's like not showing up very well on my black canvas.
Yes. So there are 2 greens that you could have received. Somebody else just had this question. For the Sunday class, I actually sent the darker green. And for the folks in this class, I sent the lighter green. So you might be using this one. Perhaps.
Yeah.
So just add a little bit of white to it and you're totally fine.
White. Okay. Thank you.
Of course. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I wanted folks to try. This is actually a really pretty like emerald green. So if anybody that's using this today with white, it's going to be this beautiful. I'll actually show you. I have a little bit of it right here. It's like this really pretty like emerald color compared to this is the other green here. So they're 2 tones, which is kind of neat. I was just doing another project. What a great example to have. Thanks for asking. Happy to clear that up for you. All right. So what we're going to do next is we are going to do our poppies. So our poppies are going to be orange. So what I'm going to have folks do is take the yellow that I shared with you that you have, and I'm not going to use very much yellow at all. It's going to be just like a little dot of yellow. And I'm going to do a little bit of red. So you need more yellow than red, but take a minute to mix an orange of your choice. And I'll show you. You do not need much paint.
Excuse me, Megan.
Yes, ma'am.
Megan, we did not get any yellow.
No
Are
yellow.
we
What colors
supposed to
did you
get
get?
yellow? You get red, blue, green, and white.
Red, blue, green, and white.
Yes.
Does anybody else not get yellow? I'm just gonna look
Guess it
around
was
the room.
just us.
Okay, so you can do, I would do red and white. You can do red and white to make like a soft pink poppy. That would be fine. So strange. All right. So this is just for the next type of flower. I'm going to do a poppy shape, but you can see if anybody that does have the yellow, if you don't have yellow, just use red and white mixed together. But really, we're doing a variety of flowers. So let me ground us here on our next step. So there are so many flowers here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe like 5 varietals. So this is the part of the class where I'm going to, I'll lead you through different flower types. If you are interested in doing a certain type of flower, doing something a little different, feel free to do that. However, one of the things I want us to consider for tonight's class is scale. So you can see how tiny these flowers are. I'm going to go smaller flowers for tonight, but if you're inspired to add any bigger flowers, feel free. So as the artist, I want you to consider scale. So how big or how small something is within our field. Again, you can make those choices, but that's just something I want us to think about tonight for the class. So I'm going to do these cute, like 1, 2, maybe 3 poppy style flowers, and then we're going to switch to another color. So we're going to continue to layer beautiful flowers in our field tonight. All right. So I want everybody, you can use the same brush you're using. If you love this brush, for me, I have a nice fine point and I am like real happy with it. I am going to use this for my poppies because I want to be able to manage and I'm doing like orangish red poppies. You can choose whatever color you want this to be. But find a brush where you can have control over the leaf shapes and the flower head. That's the most important thing. And you can see I'm spinning my brush on my plate to manage the point of my brush, as well as how much paint is actually on my brush, which is interesting. Okay, so when you do a flower shape, it's good to know and talk through that your flower does not have to be the same shape. So I like to always do a little bit of outlining for a flower shape. So I'm going to do a flower over here in the middle of this black space. And the flower, think about the outline. Don't think about the petals initially, because the petals will come, but you can do a little bit of an outline on where the petals may be. And I challenge you, try to make this flower not so even. And when I say even, I mean like symmetrically, like perfect all around. And then once you can see my petals are all a little bit different, but the outlines, right, where my petals are going to be. You can see there's some wider parts. And then I'm going to have you fill it in entirely. So do the outline of your flower. Don't even worry about those petals right now. We're going to create those petals using white paint. So this is another new technique. So I did an outline for a flower and I'm going to fill it in. And the new paint that we're using in our classes is a little bit higher quality. So you'll see it's going to go on a little bit thicker, which is really nice. And we're going to let this layer dry. Beautiful. And that's it. That's a flower. It looks like a little blob, like a 4th grader's blob. But let me tell you, we're going to turn it into something here. And then I'm inspired to do maybe another little one, maybe up here. And this one might be a little bit different. Maybe this is the underside of the flower. And these are kind of petals upward facing. So this is the bottom rounded underside. Sometimes when we paint flowers, we want to just paint the middle and paint the petals, but you all are better than that. We can do that too, but let's try doing something a little different tonight. This is the underside, rounded underside. And the top, it kind of looks like a heart a little bit. And I'm going to do a second coat on these flowers. I see lots of brush strokes, ladies and gentlemen, so don't worry about that. We're going to do another coat. And then I might do another flower here. And this flower is actually open a little bit. It has a petal that's kind of hanging down. And I'm going to show you how to do that tonight. So this is the top kind of back edge. And this is a little bit of a petal kind of hanging down. So this is a petal kind of flopping down. And then you can make these as rounded. You can see I'm being a little abstract with my edges. That's okay, it's good. And you're just gonna fill this in, and we'll bring it to life using lighter colors for depth. So it's trusting the process. These might look just like little blobs right now, but trust me, we'll turn them into something. And all I'm doing is I just did a little flower up here, did a first coat, and I created a third flower down here. And as I get the paint down here, if you want to go back and do some outlining, you can. But it's good to let this dry. And you can tell acrylic paint dries pretty quickly. But this paint's sticking pretty well to our canvas. And this again looks like a floating orange cloud. Trusting the process, we will do something that looks a little nicer here. We are slowly, and these might be little petals on top, but I'm just doing a base coat and I'm just going to let it dry. The paint looks sticky to me. That means it's wet, right? This paint's a little bit different than the paint we've used in the past. You can see it's holding much better. You may be interested in adding a couple others. Maybe I'll just add one more little orange flower over here. So one of the things I like to teach in my class or demonstrate is a little bit of color balance. So one of the things about art sometimes is having the composition really work together. So for me, we're going to have 4 or 5 different types of flowers. And the orange flower that we're doing, this orangish red flower or pink, whatever color you've landed on, is going to be one of the varietals. And I'm having a balance of this color from the left to the right of the canvas and from the top to the bottom. So we know that the whole, top 2/3 is our flower display. So we're going to let this dry just for a minute. Anywhere else you want to add little bits of orange flowers, feel free. I'm keeping it simple because we're going to add a lot more. Okay. And I'm going to grab my white. And if some of you might need to mix a little bit more orange paint, I know I need to, just a little bit. We're going to make a lighter orange tone. So I'm going to just make a little bit more orange. So my yellow and my red. And I'm going to add a touch of my Reeves white to it. And maybe I'll keep the white on the side a little bit. We'll see. Maybe I'll take a little bit of the white and just put it over here. Might be too late. All right, I'm going to make a light orange. And this is going to be our highlighter. So this is the color that's going to bring out our petals. So in my classes, I like to teach depth. And depth is when you bring more than one tone of a color or hue of a color to an object. The example I use all the time is a blade of grass. So you could use your green for your blade of grass, but if you did a lighter green and a darker green to highlight the light and the shading, it will bring that blade of grass to life. So we're gonna do the same thing with this light orange. So if you made a pink, if you have no yellow, make a lighter pink. So make a lighter tone.
Megan?
Yes.
My, where I mix the red and the yellow, it's like sheer on there. It's almost like, it was like watery. You know what I mean? It's,
Is it
What?
shiny?
yeah,
Mine's shiny too.
but it's like, I can see through it and splot, it's splotchy.
I think
Is
Corinne
your
got the
brush
same
too wet
thing.
perhaps?
Mine's doing
No.
the same thing. It's kind of like see-through and streaky,
Yes.
you know, even with a second layer.
Exactly.
And what colors are you ladies using?
Red and yellow.
Red and yellow here too.
Yeah, for the,
Did it come out as a solid pigment, or was there like an oil that came out of the
Yeah, it was solid.
solid.
weird?
Just not having the coverage that the green did.
Okay,
Right, exactly.
so strange.
Yeah, you can, even with the you can just see through it.
So it's not as
Yeah.
solid as mine as a single coat.
No,
Okay.
you can see through and play, and I'm putting a third coat now. I put a little more yellow.
Okay. Yeah, I would just say, just add another coat or two. I have no idea why that's happening, but I appreciate the feedback.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So for anyone that's interested in doing the second step, what we're going to do is we're going to be using this lighter color to highlight the petal shapes. And I'm not talking about an outline. I'm talking about you leaning back in your chair and adding a little bit of this lightness to bring this flower to life. So you could go along the edge, but maybe you do a little bit in the middle and just create a little bit of brightness. You could go along the edge, you could go on the interior. But this is where the light is hitting. So as an example, this front petal, this is where the light is hitting. And maybe I'm outlining this whole front petal. And you can always come back in and add some of the other orange. We are going to add kind of a dark center for some of these poppies, so that's fine. And it's always fun kind of going back and forth to these flowers. So use the lighter color to highlight an edge, maybe to highlight that edge, to highlight that petal shape. And I'm just doing this one first. The other flowers are going to be a little bit different.
Was it
This
just
one-
white, Megan?
I added white to it. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And for me, I'm also going to have a little bit of orange, the traditional orange nearby too. So I'm going to mix a little bit more of the traditional orange. So I want you just to play with these two tones and let me just mix. I'm going to have both of these colors ready and available here. And I want you to just to lean back in your chair and play with what the lighter does to a petal. So you can see if I wanted to come in here, and this is why we're here. We're here to play with the depth, right? We're here to play with these details.
Joaquin? Oops, sorry.
Oh, it's okay. So you can see I've created some of this lighter orange, and then I came in with the darker orange and I softened it a little bit. You can still see I have a lighter side on this. That's just an example. I'll show you what another way you could do is this flower right here. This one's open, so I'm going to do a little bit of this. The petals kind of hanging down here. I'm going to start and highlight this petal. And then maybe there's a petal edge that's coming in right here. So this flower's open, and maybe I'll do a little bit of the highlighting on the edging. See how it kind of makes that flower look like it's a little open? And sometimes people would put a little bit of like a darker contrast in the middle of these flowers. So I'm going to just let you experiment, but this is why we're here. It's really quite fun. Maybe for my darker contrast, I'll use a little bit of the red. So we have that shaded darker color. Maybe we'll use red for that. And I'll put a little bit of that red in the interior of this one. And I'll bring this a little closer so you can see it. Maybe I'll break, this is the interior. This is the center of the flower. You can always change the shape of your petals. Like this petal for me needs to be a little bit bigger. So I can get my regular orange again and make it a little bit bigger. It's okay to modify your flowers along the way. But you can see how that interior, this is why we're here, right? We're here to practice new techniques. The interior is a little darker. I use the red as the darker contrast. And the lighter orange, you highlight on the tips where the light is hitting. And this is a petal here. So you can play with what depth you create and where. And acrylic is incredibly forgiving. If you do something you don't like, this is all takes practice. And this is like a little harder, right? This is not easy out of the gate, but I'm giving you all, give yourselves a little bit of a break to be playful and experiment tonight. But I want to show you my palette so you can see what I'm doing here. I have my orange here. I have a lighter orange and I have red as my darker contrast. So I want you just to play with these orange flowers. You can be as abstract. Again, lean back in your chair. I did a little bit of a soft side here. But kind of dip your way between the orange, the light orange, and the red, just to build these flowers to life. And this is just one set of flowers. So again, it's all experimentation. It's all practicing, applying. But you can imagine the sun is hitting these flowers. It's hitting these petals here. It's hitting these petals here. And we will add a darker center for these. I did not send black, so maybe use a tiny touch of blue, but I'm going to let these dry first. But the center, again, maybe use a little bit of red to say, okay, this is where it's going to be. Adding red to oranges as like your darker contrast is so much fun. So much fun. Maybe add a little bit of a darker red here. Don't go too crazy, but I'll bring this a little closer so you can see it. So I'm using 3 colors like that orange, the lighter orange, and a little bit of red on where the middle might be or where you might want to create a little bit of shading.
Megan,
Yes.
so I've been putting my paint on this, but I can still see the black through
So strange.
the paints.
So you might need to use like white just to really add like better coverage and have lighter flowers. Have you tried that?
I did that with the lighter orange and I can still see through the black. Not as much, but.
Is this happening to anyone else? I'm perplexed.
Yeah.
Yes,
It was kind
same
of
for me.
light
Yeah.
too. When I first started out with the orange, it was really light. I could see the black through
Yes.
it, but I've had to keep putting on it. I let it dry and I keep putting on the top of it.
I
It was
think
al- it was almost
that's
like
exactly right. I think it's just like having having a lot of paint on your brush and doing like a thick coat and letting it stick. So when I was using the paint on the black, I made sure I wasn't doing a thin coat of paint. I was just doing like a lot of the orange and that was sticking better for me. So that's maybe one of my guesses on what's happening. Because when I did a thin coat of orange, it was like, I could see it right through. So maybe trying to use just a little bit more paint on your brush for it to stick and hold. I'm not sure to try that or not. But thank you. I'm glad you all are speaking up because this paint is new and we typically don't paint on black, right? So it's all an experiment here together. So I appreciate your patience.
The
But
green
play
was
with those
fine.
colors. I know many of you are doing the layering.
I tend to find when we've done different paints, whenever yellow's involved, I find it's not as much coverage. And so maybe some of us used more yellow than others.
Yeah. I would say this paint is thicker than the previous paint I'd sent in those small pods. This is a higher quality paint. I am learning, I'm seeing the difference. I can still see some black ladies, by the way, through this like orange poppy right here. So I'm gonna like let it dry. Maybe, you know, for a solid couple minutes, we can come in and do touch-ups. But using more paint than normal for it to stick on the black, it's probably something that we have to consider. I'm so glad you spoke up though, appreciate that. Okay. I know many of you are working away, so keep up the great work. I am, for folks that want to take a minute to like let the orange dry, maybe before another coat, we can switch up and do some white flowers. White should technically stick better than the others because it should be boldly different. But I'll switch to doing a couple of white flowers here and there, which would be quite fun next. So whoever wants to transition with me, feel free. If anybody wants to keep working on the orange flowers, no problem. But I took about a thumbnail of the white. And again, use whatever brush you're most comfortable with. I am like feeling this whatever brush. Let me see if there's a number on it. It probably is a 4, but it's like a really nice fine tip. So I'm just gonna play with this a little bit. So one of the things I want to acknowledge for tonight's class is that all of our flowers are different shapes and sizes. So we're going to do these, I'll call them true petal flowers next. So they're smaller. I'm being thoughtful. They're smaller than these big orange ones for me. You as the artist can make that choice. And I'm going to do probably 5 or 6 of them. So they might be the size of this one here, but maybe they'll be a little smaller. And these ones, I'm gonna have more visible kind of petals along the outside. So again, you can start with just doing the petals, or you could do the whole
What?
outline.
My other toolbox was in the other house.
No, they're both there.
Corinne, you're
Okay.
not on mute.
Yep, someone was just on a mute.
Hi,
All right.
hi, Joaquin.
All right. So what we're gonna do is, and again, I'm doing my white flowers they're scattered throughout. So I might do one here, here, here. Again, it's a balance of color. So I'm going to put one right here. And if you want to do fun little dainty petals, like go for it. This is where I want you to consider something a little different. I might do a little bit of an outline. I might do some petals. You can't really see the petals, but if you like, you know, this daisy look, you could do that. Again, art is doing what comes to you. So I'm going to be in the moment and have fun with some dainty petals. My petals on top are going to be a little shorter. So there's different types of perspectives you can create with flowers on how they're turned and what leaves you see and where. Now I'm going fairly small in scale tonight, but again, you as the artist can determine that on your own. Mine's a little big. I'm going to go smaller for my other ones. Again, I'm even talking about size and I still made it big. We're not perfect. We all are here to practice and have fun. And don't forget to smile. You are having fun, even though your paint is not sticking. All good. My mother told me once, don't sweat the small stuff. It's all small stuff. All right, so there's one. I might come down here. I'm going to add another one. I'm going to add a little one down here. And this one may just be like an eye of color, which means it may not have like a ton of petals, but I want there to be a little bit of white here for the eye, for the overall composition of the painting. I want a little white flower And again, flowers don't have to be perfectly shaped. This is a field, right? There are animals in fields that eat flowers, right? These are not, some of these could be half eaten. All right, let's see here. I'm going to do a little one up here. Maybe this will have petals. Just work your way around. And the nice thing is this, you can do a few here and there, but keep in mind, you can always add more. So maybe start simple, do 3 to 5 of the white. Just know you can always use more. You can always fill in any gaps after. With little flowers, like you'll notice, oh, maybe I have a gap over on the left and I want to put something over there. That's no big deal. And we might even add a little bit of white baby's breath here at the end. That could be really fun. Sprinkle in a little baby's breath, but I'm going to keep it nice and simple. And they don't have to be real petals. This is kind of a little bit of a cluster flower. This one kind of looks like a clover a little bit. It's all right. And what we'll do is we'll finish some of our white flowers. We'll add stems to these floating flowers so everybody can see that they're actually connected to the ground. I'm going to do a little bit of baby's breath at the end, but I'm just going to do another little flower over here. So again, look at the balance of your picture and you'll figure out what you want to do. I might do one more. I love this white on this background. And if anyone has any questions, don't hesitate to ask, but really just be in the moment. And we'll add some stems to these in just a minute. And I kind of like, my flowers are really abstract. They look kind of fourth grader-esque. We're going to add little orange dots to the center of our white flowers too, which will be quite fun. I don't really need too much of a second coat for these white flowers. I'm kind of seeing what a second coat looks like. It does help. So if anybody wants to add a second coat while we're here and then we have white paint on our brush, you're welcome to add a second coat to these white flowers. Remember, take a deep breath. I'm so glad you all are here with us tonight. Don't drink the paint water, it does not taste good, but if you're enjoying your tea, whatever. Let's see here. So I just did a little bit of a second coat. And I'm going to clean my brush. And I'm going to do a little orange dot in the interior of these flowers since we have our orange out. And you can use any of the oranges. It could be the lighter orange or the darker orange. And start small because you can always make it bigger. And these are kind of ovals. And use the point or the tip of your brush. And I'll bring it a little closer. I'm doing a little bit of an oval. That's kind of tiny. It's better to start small. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Did you paint your canvas black or did you buy it black?
I bought these black for the class.
Okay, because I painted, I'm one of the ones that didn't get into the original class.
Okay.
And so I had my own materials. So I don't think it's your paint that's not sticking because I'm using the old paint and I painted the canvas and you can see through every bit of paint that I'm using.
Huh. Okay.
And I've put two coats and 3 and you can still pretty much see through it.
Wow.
The green is fine.
The green's not bad, but the orange and the white.
Oh, my white is sharp and really good. It's it was the whole, anything to do with the oranges.
Yeah, so the orange, so the red and the yellows just take a little bit more. Yeah, that's how it was with the other paints too. When we had to paint over anything dark with the yellow pigments, It took so many coats. I'm sure some of you are like remembering that now. And what I always did in the other classes, even with the other paint, is I had us mix the yellow with white to create a stronger base, because the white is like super solid, right? And then once we did a base coat of like whatever object it was, using that like lighter tone, we'd go back in with the yellow on top, and then it would stick better. So if anybody in the class feels like that they need to do that tonight, you absolutely can.
Thank you.
No, you're most welcome. Thanks for chiming in. I appreciate that. So I'm doing little bits of orange. You can even see that one. There we go. I did a little bit of orange in each of these little buddies. So cute. All right. So whenever anybody's ready, again, we can do more detail on these flowers. We're just
Pull
kind
it
of
closer to the screen real quick before you move on. I want to see your little dots. I can't see any of them.
Oh, they are very
Oh, there they
forthright.
are.
Nothing
Okay.
fancy.
Okay, no, just so I can see. Thank you.
Yeah, they're tiny. So start small and then you can always make them bigger. And the one up here is a little more of an oval shape. So you can play with the shape of the center, which is kind of fun. All right. So we're going to just, whenever you're ready, we're going to do very, very thin stems for these flowers. So each of these get a little stem. So find your, again, I'm really happy with the brush I'm using right now, because I think I could do a fairly, because it's so fine and pointy. We're going to do green and yellow mixed together. I know that many of you are not happy with our yellow right now, but have faith. And if I'm going to use a little bit of my green again, and this is just going to make it pop just a little bit. So I'm doing like a little, there's like a little bit of each, and I'm going to mix those together. And you don't even need a lot of green, like more yellow is better, because see how it's getting a little bit of like a lime green. This is really going to make the stem stand out. And I want you to use one of your finest brushes. This brush actually might be too thick. Yeah, I think I need to downsize. Find a nice thin point. And you're basically going to connect the bottom of the flower and just connect it down in the wild grass growing below. There we go. And I'm going to start on the underside of the flower, and they can go straight, they can bend, whatever you want. Starting with a thin line gives you more control over the size. If you wanted to make it bigger, you could. And I'm going behind, purposely going behind this grass blade. I'm going to start with thin stems. If you do not like these stems, you can make them bigger. I like that they're very whimsical to me. I really like that. But you are the artist, you make these choices. So this stem over here, again, you can bend it maybe a little to the right. Stems do not have to come straight down. They typically don't. And I'm going to tuck it in behind. We're going to have a lot more flowers. So we're just kind of connecting these to the earth while we're all here. Each of these. And sometimes I like to use my pinky to stabilize my hand. And the stems, try not to do straight stems. Challenge number 2, try not to have straight stems. We're going to add a lot more flowers, so don't worry. So if you have these lanky flowers just hanging out, that's okay. You're doing the right thing. We'll be putting a lot more things on top. But it's just about being a part of the process. one of the things, I teach a lot of team building classes for big companies. And one of the things I stress in any class, and especially those, is to have a little bit of patience with the process. Now, I'm sure many of you are unwinding, and I will continue to remind you to try not to take things too seriously. We're here to have fun, but just know that there are a lot of layers in this one, and this will evolve beautifully. It's just trusting the process. So look at that. My stem is going to go tucked behind this one. And you can go back and get more paint on your brush. Your stem does not need to be a full brush stroke. And again, if I want to come in and make these bigger, I can at any point. We are going to be painting more flowers kind of on top. So that's why it's good to kind of ground these now. But you can see some of these are bending to the right, some of them are bending to the left. I'm being mindful of those details as an artist. And I like talking about it in these classes to remind you to consider those details as well. It takes a lot of practice to be uber aware and alert of things when you paint. So I like to talk through those things sometimes in these classes just to create awareness of certain things. Some of you may already be doing it. Many of you are already doing these things, but it's good to talk through it. And I'll be totally honest, some of the green, it's not totally filled in. And I may, go in and make some of these a little bit more solid in color, but I know I can do it after. So for tonight, I'm choosing to spend more time with you all on the details of these flowers. And you can see the balance. We talked about balance of color. You can see there's a nice evenness of black space. I mean, I could hang this on the wall as it is, and it looks like the composition is tied together. So look at where you have gaps, where you might need to put a stem flowing through to fill a space. This is all just a starting point. More to come. So I'll give everyone, I'll keep an eye on the clock. In 2 minutes, we'll do our first flip and reveal. Anybody that wants to show your progress. I am speaking for others. People in these classes love seeing how others are doing. So if you are nervous, don't worry about it. Most folks in these classes, they spend another hour after to refine. So we're all here just to be ourselves and have fun. But if you're interested in sharing in just another minute or two, we'd love to see your work. But take some time right now, maybe do a second coat on some of these green stems. While we have our green in our hand, go back and get more paint. Make sure all of your floating flowers are connected to the earth. If anybody wanted to get a little fancy and outline any of these green grass blades with a little bit of this green paint. Remember, this green paint has a little bit of yellow in it. So this might act as a highlighter. We talked about that, didn't we? We'll be doing more of this, but if anybody wants to come in, I'm not going to go too crazy right now. I'm just going to focus on the flowers and the evolution of our scene. But you can see I have orange flowers balanced from the left to the right. And I have an array of white flowers that are balanced from the left to the right. We'll do another type of flower next after our show and tell here. Don't forget to hydrate yourself throughout class. It's my view.
Happy hour.
Back to gallery.
It's happy hour.
Oh, it's happy hour. All right. Hey. All right. I like it. Happy hour for me once I'm off with you all. There's Miss Kathy's. Beautiful. Miss Jean. Oh, Miss Jean went for her
When
blues
that-
already. I liked it. Melody, beautiful. Sue, I love yours. Great balance of color. Miss Terry. Oh, that's lovely. Terry, your white accents look really quite nice. Nice job, Patty. I love, Patty, your dimension of your colors looks really quite pretty. All right, here comes Miss Donna and Co. All right, very nice. Ooh, excellent layering with your grass. Sharon and Miss Linda, well done. Well done. Greg and Mary, very nice. Oh, there you go, lean it forward. There we go. Miss Melinda. Melinda, great positioning. Those look lovely. Wonderful.
But Megan, when I did mine, this is my first time here, so I'm really kind of really feeling my way with this. But my stems keep coming out really thick because I tried to put more paint on to so it wouldn't show through, and now my stems look really thick compared to the flowers.
Well, I can tell you that your stems do not look thick here from Vermont. They look quite nice.
Oh, I think they look better. through the
If you need to
lens.
make your flowers, like if you feel like your stems just took over the show, you can make your flowers a little bit bigger. It's totally up to you. But I think the size of the stems and the size of the flowers, they look really good to me. It looks really quite
Okay.
nice.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Excellent work. All right. So thank you everyone for showing and telling. We typically get inspired from one another in these classes. And even when I'm in classes with a group of, 15 guys and 2 girls, they always share and they're like, oh, I like the way you did that. I'm going to try that. So here's Miss Sharon's. Let's see hers. Oh, Sharon, well done on those orange flowers. Hold those closer. I want you to show off that work. Excellent work. So see how Sharon did a nice light edge around the top of that flower. Well done, Sharon. Awesome.
Can't see.
Yeah, so I'm in gallery view. And if anybody wants to find Sharon Cohn, she can show again. All right. So I want to thank you all for sharing. That was so fun. What I'll do is I'm going to continue along because there's a lot of flowers and I want to be mindful of time. And we'll keep going. I'm inspired to do blue next. What do y'all think? So let's go ahead and clean off whatever brush you're using. Again, we can continue to do refinements on these. For me, I'm going to add more kind of lightness to some of these lighter oranges, but I'm not being too critical right now because art is an evolution. But it's always fun to talk through things. So what we're going to do is I want you to grab one of your smaller brushes again. And we are going to do clusters. We're going to do a couple tall kind of blue, kind of like, what are they called? The tall stocky flowers. I'm losing the name of them. They'll come to me when I'm not trying to think of it. But I'm going to have you use this blue. It's Blue Lake, if folks receive this color from me. And I'm just going to do a spot of this Blue Lake. Ladies and gents, I'm probably going to put a little spot of white next to it just to make sure I can see it on the black. We shouldn't have a problem, but just to be safe, if anyone wants to, maybe by put a little bit of a gap in between your blue and your white right here. So you can try the blue, but if you need to pull in a little bit of white, you could do that too. All right. Lupin, that's the name of the flower I was thinking of, kind of like a blue stocky lupin. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this blue and I'm going to do kind of a bending lupin. And actually I like the way this blue is with no white. And I'm going to do the top of the blue, kind of like a little seed or like a little pod, kind of like a little oval. And then I'm gonna do a stalk, and it's gonna be, I'm gonna do an imaginary line. I'm not gonna actually do the line because I wanna see it come through. But if anybody wants to try this design and style with me, you can. So I did one kind of bead or node of the flower on top. And I'm doing a one to the left and one to the right. And these are pretty small. And I'm leaving black space intentionally in between these nodes or these buds. See that? You can always connect them, but this is a little bit of an illusion that we're creating. So I'm doing one on the left and one on the right. And I'm going to work my way down. So again, this is very detail oriented. You could make the ends round, but have fun with this. This is a really relaxing part. And we'll put a little bit of light blue inside of these after. And I'm painting right on top of this green stem, if folks can see that. And it does not have to be totally straight. I'm just going to kind of let Mother Nature take me here where she wants to go. But I'm leaving black space around each of these. And if you don't want to do this way, you don't have to. You can make them touch a little bit if you want. I always try to be a little fearless in these classes. And if I have an idea, just to have some courage and go for it. Because I hope
So
that
Megan, are they getting larger as you are going down?
I'm trying to like keep them fairly the same size. They're getting a little bigger, but try to keep them all fairly similar. The ones at the top were like a little smaller, but I'm going to try to stay to this size as I go down. And it's going to come down fairly straight.
Does the Sunday kit have the darker blue, just like it had the darker green?
I don't remember. Maybe.
Mine says azul, blue, PHTHALO.
Yeah, let me go grab the blue and I'll
my
tell you.
son's, which he has one called Blue Lake, and that was from Sunday. I think
the Blue Lake is what I'm using right now.
I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think I'm using his kit.
Oh, the Paleo Blue. Yep. So for the Sunday class, I did give the darker blues.
All right, so I'm trading again. So
you can trade. Yep. And if anybody has the darker blue, just add white to it. I wanted to do an experiment with using the blue and the white and the green and the white for Sunday. So that was the test there. Good questions. Because you get different tones of blues with the darker blue and white versus the Blue Lake and white or just Blue Lake. So I wanted everyone to kind of play with those a little bit. It will work either way. We have plenty of white paint to experiment there. So it's going to come down fairly straight, but if you wanted to have a little bit of bend in it, I know I said have a little bend, you could do that. But this is another flower that we're putting in. And I am, as an artist, my approach for today is I'm holding space with the black space because I want to I'm kind of embracing the black background as an artist. So I could cover this up. However, I'm being playful with holding the space to see the black. And we are going to do light blue on the interior of this Blue Lake, and it's going to be really quite pretty. So that's a secondary color to add depth. So we talked about that already. And we did that to our orange poppies. So it's all progress. It's all one step after another. And it's just being patient and relaxing and unwinding as we get there. And as I come down to the grass, I'm going to go down as far as I can. And then maybe I'll put like a green leaf on top of this after. It doesn't matter. You as the artist can make some of those decisions. If you wanted to tuck this behind, you could at any point. So I just kind of added a few. I like these nodes. They're so pretty. And I'm not going to do a second coat of the blue because I'll show you how to do a really pretty light blue accent on the interior. So this is a little time consuming, but it's all worth it. I'm going to let that dry first. And as that dries, I'm going to have a little bit of fun. I'm going to put in a couple of little trickling blue flowers. I'm doing abstract blue flowers, just filling them in. Again, we want a balance of blue from the left to the right, from the top to the bottom. So I'm going to just do a couple of little accented blue flowers. Just regular blue. There's actually a little butterfly if anybody wants to paint a butterfly in the inspiration. I'm just doing little blue flowers. Some of you might be inspired to put a ladybug on a flower. You could do that at the end. I'm just going to do a couple of little ones, and they can all be different shapes and sizes. This one's just a tiny little one. I'm going to do a couple of little ones. These are kind of like little six little petals maybe. And then I might do, you could do a little clusters of blue flowers. So maybe you do 2 or 3 next to each other. That's always fun. Clusters and odd numbers. Maybe I'll do another little cluster up here. I'm just doing basic blue shapes right now. And it's always, I teach a little bit of mindfulness in these classes. Really, it's just about pausing and reflecting on your work along the way. Sometimes our nose is stuck and ingrained in our work, and we forget to pause and say, okay, do I want to add any more blue flowers anywhere else? Maybe it's stretching your neck. Maybe it's your posture right now. So maybe lean back in your chair and push your shoulders back and stretch your neck from side to side. Enjoy this time today. And I will do my, let me see if I need any more blue flowers reflection here in a minute to practice my preach here. I like this. I have a nice array of blue flowers that are kind of along the top and along the bottom. And I'll show you all how to add a little bit of the light blue in just a minute. And you can add a little bit of that light blue on any of these blue flowers too. Optional. So this is the easy part. If anybody wants a little bit of this light blue, you can take a little bit of your white, and in between these two colors, you can find your light blue. Don't need very much. And just swirl. This is thick paint, so just take a minute to mix. And in the inspiration, it's actually almost white, so you can temper how light you want this light blue to be. Give it 10 good solid swirls. There we go. And then you can spin your brush on the side to get a nice coverage. So there's a lot of ways that you can do like this lighter accent. In the inspiration, the white is on the interior. So you could do I'm gonna do a single line in the middle. So you can still see, and I'll bring this a little closer. So maybe I'll just do a little bit of a line in the middle. You could do a line on the underside. You could do a line on the top side. if you do something you don't like, you can always paint over it. And I might do it, and I'll show you what the top side looks like, just to give you a little bit of variety. So actually like the top side better than the middle. So I did a little bit of the lighter on the top side, and on the left side of my flower, I did in the middle. I like the top side better because it's like the light is coming down. And guess what? I can fix that by painting over the other side. Easy peasy. Or you could do both. So again, I'm using the lighter tone to highlight where the light is coming in. So maybe I'll do both. Maybe I'll do a little bit of a line on the top side. And again, using one of your finest brushes. I'll probably put a little bit of blue and cover up some of those lines. But again, it's all about experimentation. You can typically cover up anything that you may not like. I may do just like a little bit of a white dot or a little bit of white on the edging. And if this is too light for some of these, you don't need to use too much of this light. You just do a little bit here and there, but know that you have that other blue right here handy. And look at that. I can take that regular blue and I can cover up those middle lines if you don't like those middle lines. And look at that. Presto changeo. So have fun trying applying a lighter tone of blue just to give it a little bit of brightness. And we're going to do this for each of our objects. How fun. Some of you might be inspired to add like another blue stalk somewhere. Feel free to do that. You could do like a bending one. I am not going to do that tonight due to timing. Because I want to be able to do some pink flowers next, and then we might do some like white stalks. So again, take your time, but I want to make sure that I give you an array of flowers for your picture tonight. So take another full minute or two just to play with the blues, and then we will shift to pink flowers next. And I might be doing a little bit of speed racing now, but we're good. We're doing great on time. Just want to make sure that we get through an array of flower colors for choice. We definitely want like lots of layers. So if you haven't added any of these little blue ones yet, feel free to add some blue ones. I'm not doing stems from some of these blue ones. Maybe if like you have a big one up here and you want to connect it, you could connect it. So I have one blue. It's like a little bigger here in the sky. I might grab a little bit of my green and just kind of bring it down and connect it to our Mother Earth here. But if you have little ones, you don't have to worry about those. This one I might bring down just a little bit. Again, we're filling in our scene. And if you wanted to take a minute just to kind of, if you wanted to connect these, you could ever so gently. I did a really gentle connect for the 1, 2, 3 right here. Really soft hand. You don't need a heavy brush stroke. Tonight's class is a little different from the others because we're doing really tiny, really a lot of detailed work, which is kind of fun. It's good to do something different every once in a while. So maybe I will just connect some of these, just grounding them. You might be inspired to add another blue flower off the stem. I kind of like that it's soft. You don't have to fill it in the painting and the inspiration. It's very soft stems. So we're starting to create this wildflower bouquet. I'll let you work on the blue. In just a minute or so, we're going to transition to our pink flowers. So I'll keep an eye on the clock. I'll give you one more full minute to play with the blue, and then I will transition to doing pink flowers next. If there's any questions, please let me know. Everyone's doing awesome. I might come in with my orange and make this a little bit brighter. We have to remember to be really kind to ourselves as we are trying new things and we are painting things in a different way. We can sometimes be really hard on ourselves. So I'm here to remind you to be nice to you as we practice this together. We are so self-critical most days, and I'm here to remind us that we are doing a great job and we're having fun. And we all will continue to practice and get better. But until then, we will play with paint and colors, right? All right. All right, so we're going to slowly transition to the pink. If anyone has any questions, don't hesitate to use the chat, but we will transition to our pink next. So who can guess?
Did you put anything in the center of the blue, little teeny blue things, or they're just blue?
What colored flowers?
Blue?
I did a little bit of like this white accent.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that. Okay.
It's a light blue basically. But I kind of had I'll show you my palette. I didn't do it in the middle. I kind of highlighted the edges. And what I did was I did the blue and I had white and I kind of mixed a little light blue in between. So we're going to use, we're going to make pink. And the way we're going to make pink is, and if anybody wants to catch up, that's fine, is I'm going to start with a tiny dollop of white, and we're going to add a little red to the white. And you all can see how much paint I'm using. It's like hardly anything. So you all have this wonderful paint you can use in your next craft project. All right. So I'm going to swish my brush around. Feel free to switch brushes. We still want small brushes, small fine points. So whatever one is meeting and exceeding your needs tonight, you do that. But I'm going to make a pink color. It can be as red-ish pink or as light-ish pink as you wish. I need a little bit more red for mine. For me, I want it just a little bit more color, I think. Oh, actually, I think it's okay. This is kind of a bubblegum pink. I think that's how I'd explain this. I think I'll use this color. This will be fine. Again, mix it very well. And then I spin my brush to get a nice fine point. And I'm going to add a pink. I'm going to do the same blue stock, but I'm going to add a pink one over here. And I may put it, maybe I'll put it over here on the left. So I'm going to do that top node. And then I'll do a side node. And if you want to do something different with your pink, feel free. I am going to add other pink flowers, but I will do both. So I'm just going to take my time and do these little nodes again with the black space all around them. And if you want to be really precise in particular, you could do kind of points on the end of the nodes and then more rounded on the interior. It's up to you on how particular you want to be on the shapes. I am going to grab a smaller brush for this step because I need a little bit more control. I'm using the #1 brush, if you have that. It's really about using whatever brush you're most comfortable with. There we go. And I'm painting over a little blue flower. It's okay. I'm painting right on top of any of the green. This one's a little bit wider, but that's okay. But take a few minutes to work your way around. And if you don't want to do this stocky pink, you don't have to. I may add a little bit of red as like a fun contrasting color to this. Like I did the light on the blue, I might do a red, maybe on the underside of this one. Again, I'm going to experiment. I'll show you what it looks like. If you don't like it, you can always do the lighter. And I'm also going to add some cute little pink flowers to balance left to right. I think there's like a cone flower that's kind of up here, so it'll be quite fun. But really, this is the point in the class where you can add as many flowers as you want. And I know I saw Miss Jean at our first show and tell here, and she already did the blue ones. And I'm like, go Miss Jean for just going for it. She knows just to be in the moment. And if you have an idea, just to implement it. So I will encourage you all to do that at this step in the class. Do whatever you're most comfortable with. You can add any flowers of any color. Try to fill in any little gaps. I am going to add in a couple like wispy white flowers as well. So I'll work my way through this and then we'll keep on with the details. So there, I'm going to leave that there. I might put a couple of green leaves once the pink dries. I might put a couple of green leaves. I have a little bit of this reddish orange left on my plate. I might use this as my contrasting color down here. I'm going to be experimental. So if you all like this, you can do it. If not, you can use maybe a lighter color. And this is drying up. So I'm actually just going to grab a little bit of red. I'm going to use a little bit of this red. And I'm going to do it on the underside of each of the nodes. So let's see what that looks like. Courageous here for a Thursday night. Ooh. And I'll bring this a little closer. So that's red on the underside. And I'm the guinea pig in these classes. So if anybody wants me to paint something that you want to see before you paint it, you just let me know. I'm happy to do that on mine. Maybe I'll do a little bit of white on the top side, a little lighter, a pink on the top side, and I'll do red on the underside. Because we're having a colorful array of wildflowers here. So why not add in? Because this red's very similar to the centers of our poppies, right? Kind of reminds me of a watermelon a little bit. But just like I had an idea to add the red on the underside, you likely have an idea to do something different somewhere else. So it's trying. If you have an idea, go ahead and try it. Because I have a whole bag of tricks on how to help you fix something. So if anyone needs help, please let me know. You just ask. So I'm doing a little tiny line of red on the underside of these pink nodes.
Megan, I have to run. I have a meeting that I have to go to, but thank you. And I will
Thank you
see
so much for being here. I hope you had a nice time tonight.
I did. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care. Okay. So there's a little red on the underside. That's different. And I actually quite like it because I can incorporate that red detail into my other pink flowers. How about that? So what I'll do is I'll do some other pink flowers first, and then I might add that red detail because we're looking for consistency in color, right? All right, let me see here. Just gonna check the chat really quick. The Sunday session is the same as it is today, yes. So we do the same class, same inspiration twice a month for these classes. So you're not missing anything by not attending both. And I do offer, so my company is Paint and Zip VT. My contact information is on this sheet. I do offer one free class to the community, to anyone, once a month if you're interested in attending. So it's outside of AARP, but it's something that I offer because not everyone always has extra cash to participate in events. So it's kind of a way that I give back to the community. All right, so I'm gonna add some pink flowers. The one up here I'm gonna do, it's gonna have a little bit of a head and some kind of an echinacea, these petals hanging down. So wherever you want to tuck in pink flowers, feel free. So this is another example of where you can do a petal, you could do a flower. See how it's kind of facing upwards? Not all flowers need to be looked at head on. Some petals can be really thin and some can be a little thicker. And it's kind of fun to play with that. So I am, again, applying small pink flowers kind of here, there. They don't need to all be the same. You can have them be all in the same family if you want to, but they don't necessarily have to be. Same family means, you know, they look all the same. You don't need to do that if you don't want to. I like this echinacea with the bud, the head on top, and these petals kind of drooping down. So fun. I grew coneflower from seed this year, and it was so much fun growing flowers in the dire winter. I can't wait to do it again next year. All right. So look at that. And you can add as few or as many as you wish. I'm just going to do a couple of small
Can
ones.
you bring it closer one more time and hold it for a second? so we can see
Absolutely happy to
new
do that.
flowers? Yeah, it's really far from me, sorry.
I know, apologies.
Don't apologize, you're excellent. No apologies needed, very nice. Okay, thank you.
So no worries. So I'm doing an array of pink flowers tucked in from the left to the right. And it's up to you on how much you want to fill your scene, right? We could be here for another hour and a half, which I'm sure many of you are recognizing. So I'm going to encourage you to take a look at what's important for you. With the pink, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to add a second coat, which many of you might be noticing the same with the black canvas, which is fine, understandable. I think I had a little water on my brush, a little too much water. All right. I'm going to use a little bit of red for like the head of the coneflower, or orange. I'm going to use red because it's just going to stand out a little bit more. You could also use a little bit of blue if you wanted a little bit darker of a color. And I'll bring this closer. I just did a little A little bit of red for some of these. If anybody wants to feel daring, you could do a little bit of red on the underside of the petals, of the pink petals as an accent. You could do that. Totally optional. Have a nice small brush. Take your time. This is red, could be our shaded color, right? On the underside. Could also use, if we had all the time in the world, we could add a little bit of lightness to the top of our flowers. I'll show you what that looks like just to demonstrate. So again, if I grab a little bit of the pink and the white mixed together, I'll show you what a little bit of this lighter contrast, this brightness of this depth, a little bit of white and a little pink for these flowers. I'll show you what a little bit of this light looks like. It's fun mixing colors. Some folks may not enjoy it. I understand that. But again, it's just a little patience with the process, but you're all doing phenomenal. And if I take a little bit of the pink on the top side, it looks like a little bit of white because it's really soft. But if I just do a little light pink on the top sides of these flowers, just adds another layer. Go nice and slow. Again, if we had all the time in the world. It's fun to be playful. All right. I'm going to go back to that pink stalk and show you what a little bit of the lighter pink looks like over there, if anybody's interested. A little bit of a lighter line on the top. And this is the wow factor. This is the step I was telling you about initially, is you have a base coat for a color. You have a darker shade for the underside for the shading, and you have a lighter color on top for the sun, for the brightness. Creates depth for an object. You can apply that 3-color trick to anything, to any object. We could do it to every single piece of grass. We could do it to every flower. We don't have time for that tonight. However, this class is recorded and you can play with it on your own time and join us again because we play with this technique in almost all of our classes. Tonight's is a little bit more detail oriented than what we usually do. Typically do larger, bigger backgrounds with a few detail oriented parts here and there, but it's fun to try new things. And then if anybody wants to connect any of those pink flowers with tiny little stems, feel free to do that. I'm gonna grab a little bit more green and I'm gonna mix that green and yellow again because that was really fun. And I'll take any special requests. I know that we're at 6:40 or so. I wanted to add a couple of like white wispy flowers, but I'm open if anyone wants to add anything else. There are some yellowish green leaves I think are important to add as well, but please let me know if there's something else you'd like me to demonstrate. But until then, I'm going to add some stems to my pink flowers. So oh, go ahead. Was there a question?
I was trying to add a butterfly.
A butterfly. Okay, I can add a butterfly. Sure. Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, there was one in the corner up there, and
yeah,
that was easier than some of the other things.
I know. I'll do the white one. I'll do the white one up in that corner. Absolutely. I'm going to connect my pink flowers to the earth here first. The little pink ones. Oh, so cute. And again, your stems do not have to be straight. And I encourage you all to keep painting. You all have the supplies. So I encourage you to continue to add as many flowers layered in as you want. There are yellow flowers. There are these white ones. I will do the butterfly really quick, and then I'll do a little bit of white, kind of baby brown, kind of like dotted stalks, which will look really pretty. It'll also kind of brighten things a little bit. That will
Somebody
complement
needs
some of the
to
other
mute
white work.
because I hear background noise.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear my son upstairs? Apologies. I can look around the room here and mute folks. Let's see here. All right. I'm gonna just look and make sure everyone is muted. Okay, perfect. So I'll go ahead and I'll add the butterfly first. Then I'll end with some white flower detail and then some green and yellow leaves to really just bring the green area to life. So I'm going to use a very small brush for the butterfly, and I'm going to use like a white paint. And the butterfly is going to be tricky, only because it's I have kind of a pink and a white mixed together here. I'm just going to use that. We'll start with the wings on the right side of the butterfly. So as a butterfly, you can do a wing that kind of comes up to the top and comes around. It's a two-part wing. So we're doing just the right side first. So that's one of the top wings. And then we'll just do kind of, and you can leave a little space in between, but this is kind of the right wing of the butterfly. So it's kind of shaped like an oval, but the bottom is a little pointy. So kind of and I'll bring this a little closer. This looks like a flower, but it will look like a butterfly when we're here. So it kind of looks like two petals a little bit, but this is the top wing and this is the bottom wing. Maybe the top wing, I think, is supposed to be a little bit bigger. I haven't painted a butterfly in a long time. So maybe that's the top wing. The top wing is a little bigger than the bottom one. And I kept black space in between. Like there's a little bit of black space in between. And then what you're going to do is for the left, you're not going to do a full wing. You're going to kind of just do like a little bit of a half wing. That's going to kind of come down a little bit, kind of like it's flying. So I just basically did a line, but the black is important because it kind of showcases where its body could be. So again, start with the right wing, the right high wing in the bottom. And then I kind of I did a line, I left black space in the middle. And there's a black body that kind of holds, that's really helpful. And if you wanted to make it like a little bit bigger than mine, you could. I don't want to mess it up. It kind of looks right now. There. So you can kind of play with how thick that left line is, because that side of the butterfly is hidden. That's why it's more narrow. And while I have the white paint, I'll do a little bit of the white flower detail. And then if anybody wants to do a little bit of the green and yellow for the leaves down below, feel free. And then there's also kind of browns tucked in. That's also optional. But I'm just going to do a little bit of white flower detail. And I'm going to do little dots, texturized, kind of like a gooseneck. If anybody knows what maybe I'll make a gooseneck. It's kind of like in the picture here, these are kind of straight, but a gooseneck flower kind of bends over to the left or the right. Quite pretty, actually. So maybe I'll just do little dots. And then it will bend down. And then it just bends down. Mine is bending. If nobody wants to do the bending flower, you don't need to. But this is kind of what a gooseneck looks like. It's not perfect, but you can make the end nice and long. If you want to add any, like, you can just do little dots and kind of do some that are standing up to kind of fill in. This is just a way of filling in. We're just doing little kind of dots with the brush tip. And you can kind of get a little wider. For me, I'm just filling in some of this space. Maybe I'll do another up here. I like these ends that kind of a little bit droopy. It's kind of fun. My mother had gooseneck flowers at her house when I was growing up. And she moved and I was able to grab some of the goosenecks before she left. And I have them growing at my home now. So they're quite pretty. They're just going out of season now, but they lasted quite a while. So look, I'm creating these shapes with just little dots. And look, this one is tucked behind. I didn't even do that on purpose. This one's tucked behind. And I'm leaving like some black space coming through. This is fairly abstract, so it just takes a little patience, little dabs here and there. You can see how whimsical that makes it. You could also do more like smaller white flowers if you want. I'm inspired to maybe add one more of these like whimsical ones up here because I'm looking at the canvas from left to right and I want just a little bit more, a little bit of this whimsical, just a little higher. And I also have a black space here. So I'm just gonna just do a little bit more of the stock, just little brush, soft little touches. And if you wanted to come in with your green and give it a stem, you could. So I'll let you play with that. I will show you how to do some of these green and yellow leaves. I think that's an important step for the bottom. And then if folks need to go, that's absolutely fine. If folks have to leave anytime, I understand. I want to thank you for coming. We will have classes in September. Again, thank you to our partners, AARP Vermont, for having us. We would not be here tonight without them. So I encourage you to check out their website, aarp.org/Vermont, and they have an events page and they have a ton of resources. We're having another class September 8th and 11th, and they have not been posted yet. So keep an eye out on the events page for those dates. And if anyone does have feedback from our class tonight, I am looking to capture as many reviews as possible just to get a sense of how you experienced tonight's class and get your feedback on things that you might want to paint in the future with us. So I'm always open there. So there's a link, a written link here on the piece of paper to share a review if you have a few minutes. But without further ado, I'll go ahead and show you how to mix these green and yellow leaves. So this is kind of fun. I'm starting with kind of a green and yellow mixed together. And I'm going to do I'm going to create kind of a pretend stalk. So like a leaf on the left and a little bit of a leaf on the right. And this is just, again, to add more dimension down here. Now, these leaves are going to be, I'd have them be multiple colors. So you want them to not stand out like a sore thumb, but it's good to have a little bit of the brightness here and there. So play with adding just a few leaves here and there. I'm not going to actually draw a line for a stalk, so for like the stem of the leaves, but I might just do a few kind of coming up. And if your leaves are really bright, just go back to this green and use that darker green on the underside, just like we practiced for all those other elements. So I'm just going to kind of be in the moment here and just add in, maybe I'll follow down, add in a little bit of this, a little bit of extra foliage. And I'm kind of going about it in an abstract way. So doing a line kind of curving in from the left, curving in from the right. I'll do this and I'll show you with my technique because it looks kind of neat. I'm kind of doing a little bit of a line and kind of curving. Now, I don't want to be totally consistent because I wanted to keep it abstract. But you can see how you can create, it's kind of graving two colors kind of for some extra dimension down here by just kind of creating little leaf shape. And these are really just curved lines. And if this color is too bright for you, guess what? You can come and grab your green again and just use your normal green just to tone it down on the underside. This is the dark, this green is kind of our darker tone. So as an example, if this is too bright, just come in here with this other green, do it on the underside and it'll kind of warm it up. It will make it look a little bit more like it's supposed to be here. And you can do actual leaf shapes. So this is where I don't want you to rush. You could do actual leaf shapes as well, not just lines. I like doing a mix of both. But at least I want to show you what this looks like for your consideration. And I'll take a minute and play with this, but you can see how it's kind of creating a second tier of greenery down here. That's kind of what I was going for. And it's all layering. So the nice thing is if you paint something down here you don't like, you can just go back to that default green and paint right on top of it. Because this is a field, right? There's lots of grass, there's lots of leaves, there's a lot going on down here. But I like the texture that this lighter green is bringing in. And this is like, it's probably going to take a little bit for folks to do the whole bottom, but at least I'm showing you an example of bringing in another layer of depth and texture to your grass. And you can also, and I'll finish this with you, but you can also do like a little bit of a horizontal brush stroke on the bottom down here if you want to as well. So you can do a little bit of a horizontal green to ground the bottom if you want. And I'll hold it closer so you can see it. And you can see the difference from this side to this side. So I'm going to do a little bit more like layering in here to kind of have it in here. It's nice and blended with the leaves. I'm going to do a little bit more of that as I work my way across. So it's just about being patient, doing kind of the curved lines from the left to the right. But most importantly, I want to thank you all for being here and taking time for yourself. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. But we'll take a few minutes and work on these details together. And again, your leaves could be kind of pointy. I alternate from the left to the right. And you can even bring these leaves kind of up the stalk a little bit if you want to. So like as an example, let's see, maybe I'll put a little bit of a green leaf, kind of maybe smaller leaves up towards, just to kind of help with the blending. So it's not just all leaves down here. You can do little leaves maybe coming off, like as you work your way to like the top tier, you can take a small brush and do little leaves kind of coming off some of these green stalks. And that will visually help the progression. And I have a really good example of that right here. So see how I put little leaves? So if you feel like you have like a stark difference, try doing a little bit of leaf texturing, just coming up some of these. And that will help bring all of the leaf texture together. And little dainty leaves, little ones, so you can alternate from the left to the right. That should really help tie it together. And I'm doing some angles down to the left and I'm doing some to the right. But I can still see some of the black. So for me, that's a good part of it. Those little leaves here really help the transition down. And some of you might see like the crazy, like potent yellow on some of these. So I'll put a little bit of this potent yellow on the top side of these leaves so you can see it. But this is like if we had another hour together, we could come in and add a little bit of brightness. Look at that. Whoo-wee, beautiful. So again, and now it's recorded on the video so you can see it, but adding a little bit of this yellow to the top sides of some of these leaves is really fun. But I hope you all enjoyed tonight's class. It's
Yes,
always,
I have a question, but very much enjoying.
oh, good. Go
The
ahead and ask.
video, do we have to request it or do we automatically get it?
If a lot of folks want it, I can contact AARP and ask her to share the link. So I think we did that like last month. A lot of folks wanted it. So if you all give me a thumbs up, I can have her send it to everyone.
I personally would like that, but if
Okay,
not, I'll
sure.
email you either way.
Of course, I'll ask my contact. I have some thumbs ups here. I'll ask my contact at AARP Vermont to send it to
I
everyone.
didn't hear, that was for what, Megan? I'm sorry.
For the recording of tonight's class.
Oh, okay.
All right. So I'm going to keep working my way across. If anyone has any additional questions, please let me know. But I love your feedback on tonight's class, how the black canvas went for everybody. It was a really fun change. It allows us to really appreciate our colors in a different way. Which is
Beautiful.
really
Beautiful.
fun.
Beautiful.
Oh, good. I'm so glad you liked it.
But it's very, it was so detailed. It was very frustrating.
It can be, absolutely. I understand. I understand. Well, we don't always do this detailed of things, but I try to offer variety in my classes.
I couldn't get the small brushes like to a fine point, you know, that was my problem.
Oh, interesting. So yeah, they're all a little bit different. But you know what? It's all about trying something new, and we don't always use such fine detail as this. So it was a fun change, and if anyone has ideas for September, please email me because I would love to hear what you're interested in painting next.
Thank you so much, Megan.
Thank you. I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you. And you don't mind if I audit Sunday?
You may come on Sunday. Yes.
Thank you. I need to. Take care.
All right. Thank you. All right. I'm going to go back.
Be safe,
to you.
everybody.
To gallery mode, and I'll take a look at each of you here. All right, Miss Jean. All right, beautiful work, ladies and gents. Gorgeous. Thank you so much for coming, Deanne. Hello, Stella. Nice to see your face. Here's Miss Renee. Patty, beautiful. Miss Linda Bowden. Look at those bright flowers. Sharon, well done. I love your leaf texture in the front. Oh, Miss Stella, nice job with those orange flowers. Awesome. It's always fun. Oh, Miss Melinda, I like those light purple and blue ones. Those are so gorgeous. Miss Melinda, you must know what those goosenecks are because you did those quite perfectly.
Well, thank you.
Thank
Megan,
you.
thank you very, very much.
Thank you very
This was
much.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Awesome. Ladies, I'm so glad you're here and I appreciate the feedback and kind words. Miss Sharon,
Bye,
I hope to see you
everybody.
again. And Miss Stella, it was
Bye.
great
Bye,
to see
everybody
you.
in Vermont.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very
so
much.
Very
Bye-bye.
much enjoyed this.
Yes.
Very relaxing. You keep saying fun. I find it so soothing and relaxing. So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Thank you.
Oh, you know what? We all need it. So I'm happy to hold that space for you.
I'm climbing under here and getting your cable unplugged.
All right, bye, Miss Stella. Thank you. All right, well, thank you all again for being here. If you have any follow-up questions, do not hesitate to ask, but I hope to see you all again at a future class.